Hey everybody, this is your digital Super Saiyan 3, back here with another video, and, this is me doing a response video to Super Saiyan Sonic's My Ideal Sonic Generations video that he released last week, or a couple days ago. So, yeah, he actually did a video titled My Ideal Sonic Generations, and so I thought I'd put my 2 cents in if I was part of the development team back in 2011 with the development of Sonic Generations. And with Sonic Shadow Generations coming out in a couple of days, it's basically given me some time to think about doing this video. So, let us commence. This is my ideal Sonic Generations stages, or I should just call it my ideal Sonic Generation stages of what I would put to represent each of the games that were represented in Sonic Generations. So, yes, these are just extra stages that I included with the stages that were already included with Generations. So, yeah, let's get on with it. So, this is my list. And we're going to start with the game that started it all from 1991, Sonic the Hedgehog. And already, Sonic Generations already have Green Hill Zone, and it was also in the 3DS version. So, along with Green Hill Zone as the other representation from Sonic 1, I'd have to go with none other than Scrap Brain Zone. Now, Scrap Brain Zone is actually a unique stage. It actually represents the first ever lair Eggman had. And not to mention, you start off Sonic 1 being on Sonic's territory in the Green Hills. But then, once you get to Scrap Brain Zone, it's clear that you're on Eggman's turf. And Eggman is going to make sure that you don't leave alive. A lot of the level design's more platforming heavy, so that would be what classic Sonic would stick to if we had this represented in Sonic Generations. But when it comes to modern Sonic, we can definitely work in some more speed sections for modern Sonic to go through. And the tune I really want for the modern remix of Scrap Brain Zone, I would say a more heavy metal approach would be more wise for Scrap Brain, because I definitely can imagine Scrap Brain with a more heavy metal-esque theme for modern Sonic, with a lot of more guitar. But either way you slice it, let's talk about the death traps in Scrap Brain Zone. You have flame jets, buzzsaws, electricity beams, and also, not to mention, caterpillars and pig badniks that will spout yellow bombs at you. Not to mention a heavy bomb, or not to mention bomb badniks that are just bombs themselves. And also, let's not forget Scrap Brain Zone's infamous Mock Labyrinth Zone in Act 3 of Scrap Brain. Because Act 3 of Scrap Brain is basically a recreation of Labyrinth Zone. So, there's that. We could definitely use that section as part of modern Sonic's level as more of a grinding base section, where it's only just a small section where you don't even have to go underwater, but like you briefly go underwater for a second while grinding as modern Sonic, and then continue to boost on and just switch from rail to rail. That would be what I would consider my ideal for Scrap Brain Zone in the modern era. And also we can include some pulleys and rockets as well, just to get you from place to place. So, yeah, basically, there are some things that could deviate from the original level that you don't have to continue to include, because since this is a remaster and all, you can also include some small speed sections for classic Sonic as well as modern Sonic. So, yeah, that would be my other rep for Sonic 1. Now to go on to my favorite of the Genesis games, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and the stage I chose to represent alongside Chemical Plant Zone for Sonic 2 as my other Sonic 2 rep would be none other than Hilltop Zone. Now, Super Saiyan Sonic actually picked Mystic Cave Zone, and a lot of the other Sonic YouTubers that, collabed with him also picked Mystic Cave or Casino Night. But I actually wanted to choose something a little bit different. I actually wanted to choose Hilltop Zone. I actually like the laid-backness of Hilltop Zone. You're on top of a mountainside, you got lots of lava, and also, not to mention, lots of seesaws, and, of course, zip lines that you jump onto, that will carry you like a cable car. And, yes, not to mention, this is probably, the only lava level I included. I would love to hear a modern and classic Sonic remix of Hilltop Zone, and not to mention, for modern Sonic, we can definitely include a lot of pulleys and a lot of grinding rails. Well, for classic, there are some elements of the original that should be still here, of course. But I wouldn't mind including, a couple of rockets here and there for classic Sonic to ride. That will ride him towards parts of the level. And yes, we can even include those dinosaur badniks that show up in the middle of the lava, that you can also use as platforms after killing them. Because after taking out the head part of the long neck dinosaur badniks, their bodies still remain, and they can be, used for platforms and stuff. I'm just saying, for a lava level, Hilltop Zone's probably the most chill level on this list, because it has the most laid-back feel to it with Sonic the Hedgehog 2. And considering what levels follow Hilltop Zone with Oil Ocean and Metropolis Zone, yeah, of course it doesn't hurt to have a little bit of laid-backness before you get into this, until you get into the Oil Ocean portion. Next up, we got Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles. Or shall I say Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Everyone's favorite of the Genesis era. And when you watch playthroughs, it's not hard to see why people love Sonic 3 and Knuckles so much. And not to mention the stuff of Michael Jackson. Of course, Sky Sanctuary was the rep that got to be put in Generations, only representing the Sonic and Knuckles portion. So, to represent the Sonic 3 portion, I chose the very first level of the game, Angel Island Zone. Now, I chose this one as the sole jungle level in the game, to be the sole jungle level, because I love how it completely has your small jungle sections here, since it's a whole jungle. I love how it starts off so serene and peaceful. I mean, besides you having to deal with Beetle and Monkey badniks. But besides the badniks here, it's not too bad. You get the cave areas and everything to explore, and even some small underwater sections. Then, of course, the second half of the stage happens when the mini-boss comes in and starts blowing up the entire jungle, setting the entire jungle on fire. Yes, and then the second portion kicks in. So, yeah, during the modern half of Angel Island Zone, we would have modern Sonic grinding on a grind rail, and then you would see the mini-boss in the background blowing up the island and setting the island on fire, and thus the Act 2 portion would kick in. For both the classic and modern stages, you can have different renditions of the classic Angel Island theme, and then of both Act 1 and Act 2 of the original game. But, I would love to hear a remix of what Act 1 and Act 2 of Angel Island Zone would sound like. considering both are just pretty awesome in their own right. I love how relaxing Angel Island Zone Act 1 is, and then Act 2 gets so hectic and just ramps it up to 11. And thus, that concludes the Genesis era. Now we get into the Dreamcast/GameCube era. So, yes, this particular era of Sonic, or shall I call it the Adventure era. And so we're going to start with my favorite game of the franchise of all time, Sonic Adventure. This was the game that introduced me to Sonic the Hedgehog and got me into the franchise. Yes, before then, I wasn't a big Sonic fan, because I didn't even know what Sonic was until I played Sonic Adventure. Sonic Adventure kind of was my introduction to Sonic. And so, the level I chose to represent Sonic Adventure happens to be the theme park level Twinkle Park. Now, this level in Sonic's story comes right before you play Speed Highway, so it's fitting to have these levels side by side like they were in Sonic's original story from Adventure 1. For modern version of it, we can have for the roller coaster portion as it starts off, we can have it basically quote unquote. We can have the roller coaster be interactive, quite like the asteroid coaster from Sonic Colors. So yeah, we can have some Sonic Colors-esque sort of inspiration for this reimagining of Twinkle Park, as you can jump from coaster car to coaster car, as you have 3 different coaster cars you can jump to get rings and stuff, and then you get the portion by the castle, into the castle, and into the castle we go. We can have that bowling alley part recreated as well, where you can get extra rings and stuff. Also, I kind of love the variety of enemies we got, like the monkey bomber badniks and these gelatin thing badniks that you jump off of. I think they were just more of an obstacle than anything. Also, you could have spikes. We could have fully rotated spikes and stuff, because we also got spikes. Or maybe add some buzzsaws in there. I mean, you can run from the top of the castle all the way to the castle's courtyard. And end with the castle route, you know. And no, I really want the castle to be a lot more explorable and people not to just fully try to speedrun this level, because I want to take in the breathtaking sights. For classic Sonic, we can even have a section where Sonic is riding on a Ferris wheel and he's jumping from the Ferris wheel cars. Jumping from car to car and then waiting until the Ferris wheel ends. I would think that would be kind of cool to add more expansion upon Twinkle Park as a theme park. Hell, just have more expansion upon it and make the castle like the last section of Twinkle Park, because I want to see more of Twinkle Park fleshed out in both the modern and classic Sonic iterations for a Sonic Generations, because that would be my ideal Sonic Generations level to pick. And yes, I chose Twinkle Park because, well, I already got enough Eggman-themed levels already on my list. And besides, I didn't want to include any levels on the Egg Carrier, so sorry to Skydeck or Final Egg. Even though Final Egg is actually my favorite level in Adventure 1, it's not going to make the list. So, yeah, that's why I included Twinkle Park. So, next up, we got Sonic Adventure 2. And yes, mostly during my time playing Sonic Adventure 2, I mostly grew up with the GameCube port. Yes, I grew up with Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, the GameCube version, not the Dreamcast version. I know a lot of people like the Dreamcast version just as much, but I grew up with the GameCube port. But Keeping in mind with Sonic Adventure 2, we already have City Escape as the sole representation already with Sonic Generations, already with the OG generations. But since I'm adding an extra level to adding extra levels to Sonic Generations, my other choice would be Pyramid Cave from Sonic Adventure 2. Now, originally I was going to include Green Forest and Hell. I would have loved to see a modern and classic take of Green Forest, but since I already picked Angel Island and already had it as the sole jungle level, I took Green Forest off and replaced it with Pyramid Cave. Because you're inside an Egyptian pyramid run by Eggman, of course, since this is Eggman's base. This would be the secondary representation alongside City Escape. We can incorporate the hourglass spring gimmick where you have to get to the door and it opens a door, but you have a certain amount of time just to get to that door before the hourglass, flips to the other side and the door closes. Not to mention all of the rails that you can jump to do tricks off of, and not to mention all the hoops that would give you more style points. You can also use it to get more rings or lives or any other thing. And of course, all of the badniks that were in the level could be present, because this is on Eggman's turf after all. While City Escape was mostly littered with gun robots, this was more littered with Eggman's badniks, and we could even have a reference to Egg Golem just being in the background, just minding his own business as he's just stacking blocks in the background and not doing anything. Or we could have Egg Golem actually try to smash some of the roads and basically creating more hazards for you along the way to make this stage a lot longer. I'm just saying this would be a good representation of a Sonic Adventure 2 stage and a really good addition to how to make a classic stage better. And this was what I would include to make Pyramid Cave just as good, if not better. Just having Egg Golem in the background and him just causing all this chaos and him destroying platforms and creating sections for you to homing attack enemies on. And the stage could have you homing attack all the way to Egg Golem's head to knock out the transmitter, and then Egg Golem falling over, and then you getting to the goal ring. That would actually be a really cool idea for modern Sonic. Classic Sonic would be a lot different, but we still would keep all the ghosts and stuff. And we would include all those launchers that will launch you in different directions, kind of like from Sonic Mania. Kind of like what Sonic Mania did with Stardust Speedway. But either way you slice it, yeah, that would be my ideal choice to represent Sonic Adventure 2. Now we get into the last game from this era, Casino Park. And Casino Park or shall I say Sonic Heroes, I meant to say. Sonic Heroes was reliant on its teamwork, of having a teamwork mechanic switching through the power type, the flying type, and the speed type. Playing through 3 different types of gameplay all at the same time. And while most of Heroes can be kind of lackluster, and at times it may have its problems, there's a good reason why Heroes got to be in Sonic Generations. And so since I am picking a level from Sonic Heroes, alright, since I already said it, it's Casino Park. Now, yes, I wanted to include one casino level to feature, since Seaside Hill is the token beach level. I'm going with Casino Park as the token casino level, since Casino Night was already in the 3DS version. And I do not plan to talk about Casinopolis from Sonic Adventure because it's not really one of my favorite stages from Adventure 1. I mean, sure, I like it, but it's not really all that much my favorite. So, I went with Casino Park from Sonic Heroes. I mean, you got lots and lots of pinball tables that are littered with slot machines to give you extra rings. So yeah, but you also better be careful not to hit the Eggman symbol because it would rob you of your rings, kind of like how it did in the classic games. And also we would include the roulette tables. There's also a lot of roulette tables. Not to mention, we could also have a reiteration of Bingo Highway, including some of the bingo chips, and you can hit the bingo chips to get bingo. So you can have a mashup between Casino Park and Bingo Highway. Kind of like Seaside Hill did with Seaside Hill and Ocean Palace for Generations. So it'd be perfect to include Casino Park here for Sonic Heroes, alongside Seaside Hill. Now we get into the game that everyone labels as the worst Sonic game of all time. Or, basically, since we're now getting into the modern era, it's now time to talk about Sonic 06. And since Sonic 06 already had a rep in Crisis City, I'm going to give it another one since I'm giving another stage for each of the 9 games represented. So for Sonic the Hedgehog 2006, for my ideal Sonic Generations level, originally I had Wave Ocean. And while I wanted to include Wave Ocean originally, I had to end up replacing it with this level because of the fact that we already had a beach level with Seaside Hill, so yeah, it's White Acropolis. I chose White Acropolis because we don't have a snow and ice level, and this is a snow level taking place in Eggman's snow base. I mean, the stage itself is already littered with security towers, lasers, or laser beam grids, and lots of Eggman's more serious-looking badniks. But also I definitely think the snowboard section that starts off the level for modern Sonic would be perfect. I mean, especially with all the ramps you can boost off of and do tricks on. Not to mention tons and tons of speed sections. For modern Sonic, we wouldn't have the snowboard section for modern. No, we would start off with him in the foot of the mountain, and actually began running through the level as is. And yes, I love the nighttime feel that White Acropolis has, because it does have sort of this nighttime-esque chill to it. And also, for both modern and classic Sonic, there could be sections where you can play as Tails, since Tails was used in a section of Sonic's version of 06, or in Sonic's 06 White Acropolis, we could have a small section where Tails is playable, and basically him going to deactivate the switch just for Sonic to get through. And for moves for Tails to use, we can give him some of his abilities he had from Adventure 1, where he does like that tail spin, where that spins Tails around and he can use it to destroy enemies. And also for it to take full advantage of Tails' flying abilities. So yeah, that would be my representation from Sonic 06, would be White Acropolis. Next up, Sonic Unleashed. And, you know, I like Sonic Unleashed. I thought, even though the game itself is incredibly hard, it's not hard to like it, because, yes, there are some sections I do like. Yeah, I know a lot of people complain about the Werehog stages, but since we're talking about the day stages, we already got a representation with Rooftop Run. So I want to include one other representation, and that would be my favorite level in all of Sonic Unleashed, Dragon Road. I love Dragon Road's theme of the Chinese aesthetic that it includes. I love how the level starts you off running along the Great Wall of China, and you're running on these Dragon Roads, hence the name Dragon Road. And also there are sections where you do boost and run on water. And yes, it would be cool to include those sections as well to keep them with Modern Sonic. There's really not much change I can include with Modern Sonic's take. Classic Sonic could start off on the Great Wall of China as well, but we can also get him into the temple, and we can even have sections where he's on the boats and jumping on enemies that are on the boats, and the enemies are shooting at Modern Sonic with little missiles and stuff. We can include those enemies as well. We can even include the dragon boats that Classic Sonic can run on, to just include them as you know, part of the level. And Modern Sonic, the only thing I would change was while Modern Sonic's boosting on the water, we could have robots shooting at him from the boats. So that's going to be pretty cool to incorporate for Dragon Road, as I love Dragon Road, and we could also keep those spinning platforms that Modern Sonic could run on, to also include them as part of the level, because there's no way we can just leave those out. So yeah, that would be my representation from Sonic Unleashed, would be Dragon Road. And now we finally come to the last game that rounds out the 9 games that make up Sonic Generations, Sonic Colors. Now, Colors already had their representation with Planet Wisp, so my inclusion to include alongside Planet Wisp would be Sweet Mountain. Basically the level to go after Rooftop Run. Or shall I say, to come after Dragon Road, I meant to say. And Sweet Mountain is such a really unique level. I love how it's a level littered with candy, cake, cheeseburgers. It's a whole food-themed level. Okay, I gotta say it. I love Sweet Mountain. It's actually my favorite level in Sonic Colors. Well, that and Aquarium Park, but I didn't include Aquarium Park because I think we already got enough underwater stuff as it is on this list with some of my choices. But I would love to see a modern and classic representation of Sweet Mountain. I know a buddy of mine likes Starlight Carnival, and while that level's cool and all, I was more for Sweet Mountain than Starlight Carnival, to be honest. I mean, it does make good use of the Drill Wisp. Like, you're drilling through layers and layers of cake. I mean, you also see Gingerbread Man, popcorn. Like, you see a whole bunch of different foods as you're running through them. You can even do tricks over the missiles. There's really not much I could say that I could include to change for the level, or include into the level, but yeah, Sweet Mountain would be my representation from Sonic Colors. And so, out of 9 additional stages that I included for Sonic Generations, if I pitched my ideal Sonic Generations ideas to make Sonic Generations a little bit longer, those would be the levels I picked to represent their respective games alongside the choices that were already made for Generations. So yeah, those would be the bonus levels. If you got a favorite Sonic level that you would include in Sonic Generations from the 9 games, let me know in the comment section below, Sonic fans. So yeah, this has been your Digital Super Saiyan 3, and I will see you guys later. See ya!